I would now like to call upon Mr. Sumit Gandhi, Chairman and Managing Director, ABEC Exhibitions and Conferences, to address the panel and the audience.
Hi, good evening and a very warm welcome to the first edition of the International Lighting Summit webinar series. Trust all is well with you and your families are staying safe. On behalf of ABEC Exhibitions and Conferences and ITE Group, it's my privilege to have you all. As the world and our country is going through a serious pandemic, and we understand the current situation provides absolutely virtual way of going ahead, we are committed to and provide unconditional support to the lighting fraternity. Following a successful relaunch of International Lighting Summit in 2019 themed Lighting Coming of Age, the summit enjoyed an attendance of over 400 plus delegates with over 35 panelists, 50 lighting consultants and support of over 15 top lighting manufacturing companies. The International Lighting Summit is a part of our long-term vision in the Indian subcontinent, and our core priorities forms one of our core priorities in developing the industry. The support that we have received from our advisory board members, all who are part of the panel, have been extremely encouraging in creating strategic models for the Indian lighting industry. And in our constant endeavor to promote interactions within the architecture and lighting industry, we proudly present our first webinar theme, Lightning Transitioning to a Bright Future. I especially thank our moderator, Mr. Praveen Thamp, and all the panelists for taking their valuable time out for this webinar.
I'll start with Jimmy. Your take on whether this is going to be a transient phase or you think this is going to stay for long, and how will lighting and design change in general with what's happening today?
Good evening, everyone. Praveen, nobody can say with affirmity that it's going to last till this period of time. It's a very, very dynamic situation. Lockdowns will be lifted up. We might have to go in for a second stage of lockdown, third stage of lockdown. We have no idea. So hence, it's very, very dynamic. But I keep saying this, things that are changing right now are going to stay forever. It's not going to be back to normal ever. And I'm talking in terms of commercial and physical spaces. I'm talking in terms of hospitality spaces, and I'm talking in terms of residential spaces, because all three spaces have been impacted and they will change. The first biggest and major impact that's happened as soon as the lockdowns happened was people working out of homes. And now this is a reality. Organizations at a management level are on an extreme cost-cutting measure. Before this, I got off on another webinar where at least 10 industrialists were there and they were all talking about cost-cutting. And those cost-cutting measures will entail organizations to look deep within and say which functions of an organization can work out of home without impacting productivity. Now, people who are going to work out of home will need a whole lot of knowledge to professionalize themselves and make the home working environment and atmosphere. Scope for lighting designers and lighting players to look for something positive, because the numbers are going to be in millions. Organizations like Philips and so many other companies are already on their way with IoT lighting and trying to offer solutions across to people. So this is the change that's going to happen. Let's look at offices. Lighting in offices will change because people will want to now departmentalize to mitigate the risk of infection, also to maintain efficacy of whatever medium they are using to contain the virus and the microbes. So lighting over here will also have to be redone in a way to speak. Areas are going to be redefined, areas are going to be partitionalized and from an open space environment. So offices will see changes in lighting. Offices will see changes in getting in of UV lights for disinfectant, for the baggages and parcels and stuff like that. Also, they may look at UV lighting, disinfecting cafeterias when no human being is occupying it. And that would be a more simpler process, because cafe is going to be one of the main bone of contention for people to quickly spread this virus or so to speak. So these are some of the areas that are going to change. Hospitality industry is never going to remain the same, but human interface from hospitality cannot go. Hence, a lot of innovations will happen. As things unfold in the next couple of months, we'll get to see what we've estimated or what our guesstimations were and what has been the actual rollout. Buffets will never be served the way we had pre-COVID ever again. There will be human beings behind every single dish. So now there'll be smaller compartmentalized counters across, and a human being is going to serve you. He will not allow you to touch the lid and contaminate the whole area. So lots of changes that are going to be there forever. Contactless systems are going to come through and through. People working out of home is one area of interest to me. how can our industry and how can webinars like these provide a solution to people and some form of a basic education? What are the level of lumens levels required for a person to work out of home? What are the right kind of lighting required for a Zoom call or a web call? And how can a person's moods be affected and impacted when a person is working out of home for 8 straight hours? How can circadian lighting rhythms be used? At least people acclimatize themselves with these kind of things. Lots of retrofit options are available. People should be able to use a very, very inexpensive method of changing the light temperature and hence depicting what is happening outdoors into their own homes and give the right kind of lighting for their work environment, which is task light, ambient lighting for Zoom calls. They can do it with a 700 rupee IoT bulb and an app, which is available readily on various platforms now. Or they can invest in a whole package, including automation of Alexa or Echo, and control every single thing across them, including the lighting, and make their work time more impactful and more usable.
Great, Jimmy. I understand your perspective, but my question again still stands. Is this a transient phase or is it going to be permanent? Now, for example, I'll give you a simple example. Now, I've been working from home possibly for the past 5 years. Okay? I have an office, well-established office in Bombay, one well-established office in Dubai. But I can very well work from home. And for me, this is nothing new. This lockdown scenario is nothing new. But I choose to go to office when I want to. That's because there is an office culture which creates, that kind of ambience. And, it's not always good to be working from home. People always do want to have a different world where they work. So work from home, yes, it can be a short-term scenario, but I don't think in the long term, once we have a vaccine in place, this is going to be staying forever. Once the vaccine is in place, I think, so at the max, if I'm looking at it, I don't see this going beyond maybe 1 or max 2 years, is what my take on it. But anyway, let's look at this. I would like...
Praveen, sorry, before you go further. So let me clarify. I never said that offices will be replaced off by work from home. Work from home will take away 70%. Collaborative spaces will be required. People will need to go back to a hub. Again, have a collaborative work environment. So that collaborative environment will be very different from a permanent office. So this is the point I'm trying to drive.
Agreed. Jimmy, you're also an entrepreneur. You have Della Adventure and, the resorts and stuff like that. What's your take on how things are going to look like moving forward?
Praveen, landlords and tenants have already started getting into negotiations and renegotiations. There is a minimum slash of about 30 to 40% on rentals that tenants are demanding, and or else they are ready to vacate the premises. If you ask any lawyer right now, the lawyers are more busy than the normal time during lockdown, and it's a direct result of what I'm talking about. Not only office and commercial spaces, even hospitality, hotel owners have started negotiating with the operators on their fees. So there is every kind of cost cutting, and the low hanging fruit is the real estate, is the investment, is the rentals. This is a low hanging fruit, and then people are going to do a slash in terms of manpower and remove any fat that's there in an organization. So it's a serious thing, and that's where people with core competencies will shine out, and people who are excess baggages will be removed out. This is ought to happen in any environment which is adverse like this right now. However, new businesses and new economies will flourish within an environment like this. A lot of new things will come from behind that we didn't even expect or imagine. Like I said it the other day, and I'm saying it again. Luxury home sales, according to me, pre-COVID and post-COVID. Pre-COVID, it was a very sad scenario, and there was no offtake and transactions are not happening. Post-COVID, according to me, transactions will move far faster on the luxury segment. Reason being, people have been at home. They value their human lives, and they've understood, to hell with it, I'm going to spend something more, but I'll get a lifestyle for me and my family, because it's gone down and sunk into people. They never had a chance to reflect on themselves as much as we all have had a chance to reflect on ourselves and our lives and our families. So these changes ought to happen. Second home sales were very bad and dismal before COVID. Second home sales is going to be doing good, according to me, because people will want to now move out of the city. Next time there's a lockdown, I'm sure we have about 90 villas in Lonavala and we do second homes. All villa owners are now waiting to move to that in the second lockdown. So as soon as they are allowed to get out, let's say if there's a second lockdown, I'm sure practically every villa will be occupied there. People will want to move out of cities and move into open spaces. Automatically social distancing will happen. They'll have more freedom on their life, and they'll be able to have a better quality of life. Coming back to our lighting industry, there is a lot of scope, like I said. home office retrofits, rechanging in office industry complete. Either departments are going to move into remote offices, which is my prediction, and I'm very gung-ho on that. Departments will move away from each other, and a central location they'll only come to collaborate, because a lot of collaboration in a large office happens within the department. Intra-department collaboration with the HOD level is very, very limited, but within the department, maximum collaboration happens. So whole HR might move into one area, finance might move into one area, just as offices were 20 years back. So when we used to design large offices and bring 19 city offices into one large office like Ad Factors, the whole building, they moved into one place from 19 locations. Now I see them move back to 19 locations, and some of them will not be required. I was speaking to another large electrical cable company, and they had the same thing. They were shutting down a couple of offices. So it's all organizations generically are talking about cost cut. It's a reality. There will be business. Yes, projects will happen. Like I said, we are like lawyers. If we downsize, you'll need architects and designers. If you upsize, you'll need architects and designers. I mean, our jobs are secured, but this is our time as a design fraternity to don our empathetic design hats and try and empathize with the clients and see how best we can make their lives less miserable than they already are. Be it in offices, be it in hotels, be it in hospitals. I mean, anywhere and everywhere. There is a lot for all our industries to learn from the hospital industry, and this is a time for architects and design industry to learn from there. A lot of the things applicable there will now be applicable to all our vertical fraternities. In hotels, you'll see housekeeping staff out in the open, which you used to always hide them and make them work at night. You'll see them in the daytime. These changes ought to happen, and with empathy, if the design industry raises up to the occasion, we can make human lives better, be it in public areas, be it in commercial areas, be it in hotels, restaurants, all the spaces.
Great.
You have a major role to play.
Great. A general question to all the panelists. How do you think lighting and lighting design is going to improve for the transient period and for the future for good? Who would like to start?
IoT is going to be impacting at a very, very low cost the quality of life that a person gets by doing that small investment. And once, by and large, the generic population, the middle class community that still now has been using an incandescent lamp or a fluorescent tube light, which is 90% prevalent in rural India, once they start understanding that IoT can be applied at a very economical cost, believe you me, it will revolutionize. And therein, lighting designers and lighting supply companies will have a field day, because the more you educate the consumer, the more business and work you have. So to me, there is a huge opportunity out there. How can we capitalize on it? It's for time to see. But I think lighting designers and professionals have a huge role to play in improving the quality of life of a normal Indian.